Good morning, dear friends. Thursday, May 28th, I believe, 2020. I'm Robert Beatty. I'm joining you from the tent of the Buddha Broadcasting Network from the Portland Insight Meditation Community. We've been meeting online like this for more than a couple of months, it looks like now. And it's a wonderful opportunity to get together in the morning and have a little inspiration and a little meditation together. Jim, you might note I made you co-host. And yeah. So I have a poem. I have a poem for you this morning. Surprise! Robert Bly again. It's a poem about keeping our spiritual practice real and embracing what actually is here, as well as the lows as well as the highs. It's called Warning to the Reader. Sometimes old farm buildings, built to store oats or wheat, become especially beautiful when all the grain is gone and the wind has swept the rough floor clean. Standing on the floor, we see around us, coming in through cracks between shrunken wallboards, bands or strips of sunlight. But how many birds have died, trapped in closed-in granaries? The trapped bird, seeing the light coming through the walls, flutters up the walls again and again. The way out is down where the rats enter and leave, but the rat's hole is low to the floor. Writers, be careful not to promise the anxious and panicky blackbirds a way out. I say to the reader, beware. Readers who love poems of light may sit hunched in the corner with nothing in their gizzards for 4 days. Light failing, the eyes glazed, they may end as a mound of feathers and a skull on the open boardwood floor. Thinking of some new age music where there's no bass. It's all high. Sometimes old farm buildings built to store oats or wheat become especially beautiful when all the grain is gone and the wind has swept the rough floor clean. Standing on the floor, we see around us, coming in through cracks between shrunken wallboards, bands or strips of sunlight. But how many birds have died, trapped in closed-in granaries? The trapped bird, seeing the light coming through the walls, flutters up the walls again and again. The way out is down where the rats enter and leave, but the rat's hole is low to the floor. Writers, be careful not to promise the anxious and panicky blackbirds a way out. I say to the reader, beware. Readers who love poems of light may sit hunched in the corner with nothing in their gizzards for 4 days. Light failing, the eyes glazed. They may end as a mound of feathers and a skull on the open boardwood floor. So, once again, we come to the refuges. In what can we take refuge? Is it youth? Is it beauty? Is it political stability? Can we rely on there always being sane and wise leadership? Is it weather? Is it the next vacation? Is it having a terrific nest egg in the stock market? Is it relationship? Is it children? Way back 2,600 years ago, the Buddha suggested that none of those really are any place to take refuge because they're all anicca, they are all impermanent, subject to utter transformation. So we have our little modern rendition of taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Refuge in the Buddha isn't just refuge in some man. It's refuge in being awake. It's refuge in that which the Buddha images stand for. Joseph Campbell came to town a long time ago, and one of the things he said was, be sure to keep your symbols transparent to the transcendent. What's that Buddha up on the altar stand for? Awakeness, being awake. And the Dharma, the way things actually are, impermanent. You never find a self. And refuge in the Sangha, the community of practice, those who've gone before us. And I like to add the community of all life, of which we are an integral part. Each of us really belongs here. This is our home. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. That little song is so much more than a cute little ditty. It points in the direction of unshakable faith in the Dharma. The sun has come up right here. At this latitude, the line of the sun travels up here, travels west at about 900 miles an hour. So here we sit. It's morning again. It's now again, as it always is. So please let us drop into the body, this body, this cloud of sensations, which is the life of this moment. It is remarkably alive, isn't it? Everywhere you direct awareness, you will find life in the body. And if you direct awareness or awaken awareness in what we call the hands, do you find hands? I don't think you do. There's just life. This is the practice of bare attention. Finding contact with life itself. And this body is in fact the living earth. The matter in our bodies is borrowed for a time from the planet. Every day we take in water and food and a lot of air. So letting this air, this coming and going of air, become your closest friend of a lifetime. Notice the expansion and contraction of your chest and abdomen. In what we think of as outside, there's the sky. Clouds travel through the sky, airplanes travel through the sky, birds. The mind is the inner sky, and it too has weather, moods, thoughts. Sounds occur in what we like to think of as outside and inside. And so we rest in the mystery of awareness, of mindfulness. Right here at the living moment of now. Each breath is an invitation to being more fully alive. Similarly, each thought, each wandering mind, each moment of emotion, they all invite us to be awake, to experience fully, to know what's happening. And we can develop remarkable precision in awareness and concentration, using in-breathing and out-breathing to sharpen that capacity. Having the intention to be here, present, attentive, alive, as the next breath, this one, comes into existence. As it rises to fullness, chest and abdomen sensations, as it declines and as it disappears. you may notice that the mind sometimes wanders off with great intensity even. Sometimes it's gone for quite a while. But then something happens. Something utterly mysterious happens. Awareness winks on, mindfulness emerges. And along with it may come curiosity. What's going on here? This mind that I take to be me is quite unruly. It does whatever it wants. Is it really me? Are these thoughts, are these stories that I tell myself or the mind tells, are they really me, or are they really weather? Are they just what's happening? So we're cultivating mindfulness and concentration and curiosity and persistence. We're interesting the mind in something very simple. Breathing is not cheesier, saltier, faster, something. It's just this moment breathing. So we interest ourselves in that, and it has a remarkable calming effect. if it's difficult to find the experience of breathing, please remember we have the categories of experience we can observe equally valuably. To observe whether there is desire in the mind, where the mind is somehow lost in wanting something. Or if there's aversion, the mind is not wanting something not, pushing against reality. Or if it's restless and agitated and worried, noticing that for what it is. Or if it's sleepy and dull and falling asleep, sloth and torpor. Or if perhaps it is doubting, I can't do this, or I don't know that this works. Is this a waste of time? And sometimes there's emotions. Sometimes there are painful sensations in the body. In all of these circumstances, we can remember that it's possible to put aside the breath. Thank you, dear breath, for being such a versatile training object. Now I'm going to turn and put my full attention into the pain in my knee, or that anxiety that's come up. Not to think about it, but to abide in it, to allow it to totally become awake and conscious, to notice ultimately how it's all fleeting, it's all changing. It is all anicca. And as we come toward the end of this time of turning inward, feel this mammalian aliveness which you are. One of a kind ever. Imagine that there are billions of galaxies and countless world systems, most likely millions of civilizations, beings of all kinds. There's never before, nor will there ever be again. You, this constellation of life. And you, like all beings, hold yourself dear. Why not? You might imagine a golden or white light emerging from your heart, or from a little being sitting in your heart that's shaped exactly like you. Imagine the archetypal, infinitely loving and compassionate being, the Buddha, Kuan Yin, Mary, Isis, Astarte. Whatever image, whatever face you put on it, and imagine that flowing from that is a profound love for you. Warts and all, incompleteness and all. Some people visualize easily, others it doesn't happen at all. So we can also simplify to the simple mantra, I love you, with your name at the end. And why not take on for this day the attitude of remembering to feel kindly toward yourself, to love yourself in all of your unfinishedness. And imagining that little golden being now swells up until he, she, they fits exactly to your body, every pore, every hair. And that you now become a radiator of love, of compassion, of wisdom. To everyone on your screen, to everyone in this little group right now, to your loved ones, to your friends, work colleagues, outwards and outwards to all the neighbors around you. To your beloveds who have passed away, the pets who have graced your life. Let an image of them come to mind, or a name. Wish them well. To those beings, those people towards whom you feel animosity, anger, even hatred, recognizing that they too are just playing their part here on the earth for a little while. The Sufis have a group of practices they call tasawwuri, and it's a very simple idea, which is that from this moment on, for the rest of the day, whenever you remember that you are the Buddha. You are Kuan Yin. And how is it that Kuan Yin eats her breakfast, or drives her car, or sets up the next Zoom meeting, or does whatever it is that you do all day? Practicing being awake, practicing being the Bodhisattva, bringing love with you wherever you go. And please now letting your eyes come open, noticing the intention first, and then letting them open, and you may discover that there's a screen in front of you and there's people on it. Some of them you may be recognizing really well now. It's true for me. Thank you for joining me here in my backyard, in my tent, and in my consciousness. I have a couple of announcements today. One is that I have it here in front of me. On Saturday, June the 6th, Love in a Time of Unknowing, Betsy Toll and I are doing a morning retreat from 9 to 1, and it reads like this. Spring this year brought challenges no one saw coming. When COVID-19 arrived, the certainties of life we've long taken for granted disappeared. Days have their own unfamiliar quality, and more than ever, the future is unknowable. Entering this confusing time can easily result in contraction, a protective response to become more defended. Noticing that, we can also see its potential to open the heart and nurture insight. Join Robert Beatty and Betsy Toll for meditation, conversation, and reflection on using these days of late spring and early summer as a time of opening and renewal. So I invite you to join us in that. I looked on the website this morning and it's not clear to me how to register, so I'm going to take care of that today. If you get the digest, the information is in the digest. There's also another piece of information, which is a week from next Monday, a week from next Monday, which I think is June 8th. There's going to be a change of address for this meeting, and I'll send you more. There will be more information, but I'm going to let you know now in advance. It's part of a security thing we're doing. So this particular address you're using to get here today will be non-functional as of that day. Gregory's wife, how silly. Now the mind's going to freak out. I'm going to forget. Anyway, there will be this Zoom channel will be open for a week with instructions on how to get into the new one. Funny. Molly, thank you. How silly. This is my nose. And then I guess I should mention the financial support of PIMC, and a thank you that you've been really generous, and we're doing quite well as an organization, and who knows how long it will be before we get back into the building. But I want to invite you to continue to participate in your generous support of this organization and the building, which is a portal for so many people. In these Zoom meetings, a portal for so many people out of confusion and despair and hopelessness into feeling some sense of direction and love and connection. And I just wanted to show you this, if I can, if it'll work. I think I did. I think this will work. Yes, here we are. So here's the website, portlandinsight.org, and I'm not sure that you'll all get this. Some of you may. If you roll down and you come to donate here, support your Dharma Center, you click here, and then it, hopefully, here, and then you get to the Dana Bowl, and then you can scroll down if you wanted to contribute and link it to this morning meeting. You'd go here, and then to donate, click here. Very simple and incredibly helpful. So, and I guess one more thing, just take that the practice of generosity is so important. And of course, the most important generous act you make every day is your own meditation, because then you leave behind you a wake of more awakeness and more lovingness. So I think that's all I have for announcements. Jim, you're still on Monday nights? Yeah. And do you have Qigong coming up soon?
Until June.
Okay.
I'm going to change my time from 10 to 9 o'clock, and it'll be the third Saturday in June.
Okay, great. So, we have some time for what are you discovering? Sharing from the heart, trying not to prepare. That's an interesting one. And seeing when something springs up. It really is like Quaker meeting. When is it that Spirit wishes to speak? Though that can put the bar really high, can't it? So instead, what's happening? What are you discovering? I can hear someone.
This is Sarah.
It's Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
Hello. So I've had an interesting situation at my house for the quarantine. My housemate and I had been volunteering at the warming shelter right before, in March, well, throughout the winter, and right before it closed down, and we had an extra room at the house. So when the warming shelter closed down because of the COVID-19, we actually invited one of the people that we knew from there to come stay with us. And it was an interesting experience. It's not something that I will repeat. But Sasha left day before yesterday, and we had a big my housemate and I had a little ceremony after Sasha left, because Sasha turned out to be not the greatest person. We gave him a place to stay for 2 months, but it was time for him to go. So we had a cleansing ceremony at the house where we thanked Sasha for all of the gifts and all of the lessons that he had taught us. And one of the biggest lessons for me, two of the biggest lessons for me, one of them was about compassion and the limits of compassion. And the other was about learning to set appropriate boundaries. And so I'm kind of trying to, compassion for me has always been incredibly easy, almost too easy. And I tend to default there, and I'm learning, I'm only just learning now that about the limits that can and should have, and how to set boundaries with people and actually follow through with them. So if you have any thoughts on compassion and the limits thereof, I would love to hear it.
Yeah. Funny, I answering indirectly, who was it? Gurdjieff had a residential retreat center in Paris, and this fellow came along and joined them, and was really obnoxious. And the other people in the place finally drove him out. It's like they got rid of him, and he showed up again. Gurdjieff had gone and found him, and he was going to pay him to stay with the community, because he pushed everyone's buttons so much, and it could be such an opportunity for growth. No, I don't know if that's true, but that's an apocryphal story. But it is interesting, isn't it? How much to how generous we can be, and what boundaries to have, and how essential it is to have skillful boundaries. There's actually a in the Brahma Vihars, this might be useful. There's the abode of the gods, the wholesome emotional states. There's love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And Achan Semedo one time defined love as there's room for everything. So everything is allowed. So there's love, and then when love encounters suffering, it converts to compassion, and then one might want to act in merciful ways to how can I help with this? When love encounters great success and happiness and so on, it turns to sympathetic joy, the opposite of jealousy, which is you get a contact high over someone else's success. But then there's less emphasis on the equanimity. And one of the things that happens for meditators is they become more and more and more compassionate and open and sensitive, and then we fry. So there has to be this other capacity in which one can encounter suffering and realize, I don't have the resources to fix this. Inner resources, financial resources, a bedroom, that kind of thing. And in the equanimity practice, there's the recognition, in a way, this is the way of the world. This is not something I can take on, and so I'm going to relinquish it with great love, but I'm not going to engage with it, and I'm going to allow this person to have their own karmic destiny. And it's not cold-heartedness or hard-heartedness. It's really an open, generous, soft place, but the recognition that there's nothing that I can do. And I'll bet you learned a ton in 2 months. That was a lot.
We definitely learned a ton. It was an interesting experience. Sasha I think he had narcissistic tendencies, and so in the end, I almost regret having offered it to him, because I feel like all of our I don't know that the assistance is going to be of any value to him. So that's okay.
However, as you put it yourself, his being with you was of a great value to you.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. And you got him through the coldest part of the winter.
Yeah. He had health issues and he's alcoholic and stuff like that. So if he'd ended up on the streets, it could have been very, very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel. I'm not terribly concerned about that.
Uh-huh. You mean you're actually into really taking care of yourself right now?
Yeah.
How wonderful! Almost as if you matter. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Hello, Robert. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi. So I've noticed over this time a little reprieve from my constant doingness.
From your constant what?
Doingness.
Aha.
Busyness.
I see.
And I find there's a part of me that wonders, there's a part of me that's reveling and not constantly scheming and doing and planning and packing and unpacking.
Uh-huh.
And there's also then a little part that thinks, oh no, I'm getting slack. I'm getting I'm getting too settled in.
Right, right. You mean you haven't been up on a glacier in the last 4 days?
That's right. That
Or
was
down
nice.
a wild river or something?
Yeah, and as you know, but with this wilderness tourism business that I have, two of my trips now might happen because they're with Yukoners in a
Uh-huh.
small group. I'm waiting to get word back from the chief medical officer who's going to approve the operation plan. And there's a little part of me that's almost wishing that they had just been outright canceled. I could have canceled them, but I'm doing these two for Yukon parks,
Right.
taking them into the Peel watershed down some of the rivers. So it'd be two-week long trips. There's this part of me, as much as I absolutely love being in those places, and there's also part of me wishing that why didn't we just outright cancel them? I
Uh-huh.
mean, it would have an economic spin-off for me, but
Right.
now I have to actually gear up and possibly get very busy again. I spent days
Right.
writing this operation plan, and I'm already starting to dry food for the trips. I'm going to have to kick into gear if they're actually happening. And there's this little part of me that's reveling in this
Mm.
lack of doing this and the chance to just go with the flow.
Mm.
So I'm not sure what exactly I'm trying to say, except that at times I think, no, I can't drop that. That's too much a part of who I am. And the other part is thinking, yes, I want to sink into this silence a bit more.
Huh.
And we've talked about these things before, my propensities.
Yeah. Well, there is a pull to the inner life that grows. And the great pleasure that lies inside if we make the time and space for it. And I mean, you are the consummate wilderness guide, and you have so much energy, and you've given so many people that incredible opportunity to be out there, and it seems like what you're describing, I think, is the emerging of the contentment that comes from just being. And they're not mutually exclusive. What?
I have always loved tapping into that.
Yeah.
And then I'll tap into it for a week on a retreat, or I'll tap into it for an hour sitting on the side of a mountain. But then I'm off, packing, unpacking,
Right.
scheming, planning.
I know.
Now I have time for a little more of it. So I'm loving that.
Wonderful.
And thank you for your inspiration on these mornings that I'm able to wake up in time for.
Well, it's lovely to see you with much greater regularity than we've had for a while. Thanks. Jill is speaking to us from Whitehorse in the Yukon. I've had several retreats canceled. The one with you, Jill, in Whitehorse, which would have been next weekend. And then Nelson, which was almost full, 23 people. Breitenbush has been canceled. And I have a similar experience, which is, it's disappointing. And it's financially significant. And it's also, it's going to be nice to be here during the harvest season in our garden, and to not leave Jennifer for 3 weeks in July. So that there's a it's always a mixed bag. And I look into the future. I've got a retreat at Hollyhock in October, and they actually sent out a questionnaire of what the presenters, what I as a presenter, did I want to do it this year, or was it my opinion they should close for this year, or they're trying to figure out how to proceed. Would I do it if it was very small and therefore possible to have social distancing? And of course, the issue for me is, will they let me in? Well, because the border is closed right now to anything other than people going home. And even though I'm Canadian, my home is here, so I couldn't go. And if I could go, I'd have a 2-week quarantine period. This is a big thing. It's a big thing, and contrary to some opinions, it's not suddenly going to go away. So we'll keep learning, won't we? Oh, Susanna, hi. I can't hear you.
You hear me now?
I can hear you loud now.
Okay. I always forget my earphones don't work on my computer. I just remember I wanted to share something. I remember a couple of poems you read a little while ago, maybe last week, by Ellen Bass. And I looked her up because I wanted to read more about her, and I found out she lives in Santa Cruz. And I have a niece in Santa Cruz, so I wrote my niece and I asked her, do you know Ellen Bass, And she said, oh, I do, but I didn't know she lives in Santa Cruz. And then she just wrote me today and said that Ellen Bass is having a workshop with Roxanne McDonald, and listen to the title, The Art of the Ode, the Prayer, and Savoring the World as It Is. So they're having an online workshop, and so I just wanted to, let you know, because I thought you might be interested. Plus, I think I'm going to see if I might sign up for that. It sounds wonderful.
Yay.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Robert. Good morning. It's Randy.
Randy, hello. And you're in Portland.
I am in Portland. Although this afternoon I'm leaving to go be by myself in the middle of nowhere in the woods in far eastern Oregon by John Day.
Good for you.
I'm in the woods, but I've been having as I've been using this time to be more mindful and meditate, I've been noticing how disquiet I become when I notice people who are not taking the virus seriously and being very aggressive about it, like posting memes that it's not real, it's a conspiracy, all these kind of things. And I typically don't like to unfriend people on social media because I'm an adult and I consider them friends in real life, but it really disquiets me and I can feel it. And I really don't want to, cut them off, but I'm having a hard time with that.
Funny, it makes me think of an odd thought. I haven't reticent to say it. There's such a split happening in the country. It's almost like the prelude to a civil war. It's going right down the middle of families, and it's such a cleaving, and there's such support for the madness from the very top. So there is the practice of equanimity, and I don't read much of what I think of as conspiracy theories. It's just of interest to me. And so one time, a long time ago, I heard Ram Dass say something about different spiritual teachers that were maybe doing harm and so on. And he said, my relationship to that is I don't have business with them. And so he just didn't engage with that. And that's something that we can do with, if there's someone that we want to stay somewhat in contact with, but they have a crazy side, or a side we don't want to be involved with, then we don't engage with that side. I mean, I have a person or two in my life who would like to engage me in that stuff, and I always just say, you know, I don't want to talk about that. Because there's no converting. I've done all the trying I can to be reasonable and so on, but I don't want to be engaged in the argument. There's something about liking the argument that I don't enjoy at all. So I don't know if that's helpful, but have a wonderful time in the woods.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
You're going to let someone know where you're going, I hope.
Oh, of course, always.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Robert, it's Joan.
Hello, Joan.
Hi. It's interesting, particularly when Jill talked. I realized I don't want this to end. I want to stay in this little cocoon.
Yeah.
And today my husband decided he was going to go back to the grocery store. We've been having delivery.
Yeah.
And we're both of them, we've got to be careful. And I was like, no, let's stay doing what we're doing. It's really hard to imagine how we're going to go back and change our lives to make them feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
thank you for this morning. This has been wonderful every day.
I share that reticence to go back to driving every day, for instance. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, looking at the time, we have time for one more comment if somebody would like to. Anybody sitting with something? Okay. I hope you have a wonderful day, and don't forget the practice of going through the world as the Buddha or as Kuan Yin. How would it be to walk to your car knowing that you are the center of the universe and you're radiating love and compassion to all beings? So, thanks for being here. I'll plan on being here myself again tomorrow. As we say, Buddha willing and the creek don't rise. Now I'm going to unmute and we can sing our little song, Unmute All. All right, here we go. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, dear friends. Have a lovely day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, all.
Bye, all.
Bye, Jen. Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Always.
Bye-bye, Allison.
Bye, Allison.
Goodbye,
Bye,
Bee. Good morning, Linda. All right. Oh, and there's Lorraine. Till soon. Bye-bye. Okay, I did it. Thank you, dear friends on YouTube. I hope you found this helpful today.